So, welcome everyone to yet another potentially a very exciting session on Water School Africa. I'm Minnie Jain and I'm a director with the Flow Partnership that's working with the Water Schools movement globally, and Water School Africa are absolutely an amazing group of people and organizations who are doing water holding in their communities across the continent of Africa. Today we have a wonderful, one of our attempts with the Water School online sessions always is that if we can highlight, bring people who are already, and organizations who are already doing phenomenal work in the holding water space in across different countries in Africa and learn from them, then we are spreading out further and further. And very, very excited today that we have somebody from Cameroon. We've never had a presentation from Cameroon. We have Eric Wirsiy from Cameroon and CENDEP, who will be talking about their work in holding water through planting trees in their region. Eric was introduced to us by one of our colleagues and partners, the Mwande Trust, and I'm handing over to Daniel, who's a part of the Mwande Trust, to introduce Eric to us before Eric takes over. Over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, good morning, fellow friends. I'm from Monde Trust in Zimbabwe, an area sharing all typical challenges of marginal area. The area is very, very, very dry. So our main work is Monde Trust is to hold water on the ground using different techniques. So for now, we are having Eric from CENDEP, myself. I was introduced to Eric by one of my colleagues, I think 6 years ago. Our mission was to work on analog forest, which is a process of growing trees and also crops at the same time, making sure that it will rehabilitate the deteriorated lands or the one that have been degraded. So I'm here to give a short profile for Eric and also his work on water holding. Eric studied agriculture in the university, what we call this Chang Center in Cameroon, and he graduated in 1990 with a BSc in agriculture degree. He worked with the Ministry of Agriculture as subject matter specialist in charge of vegetables and food crops, and later joined Limbe Botanic Garden as agricultural extension officer. He currently serves as the M&E officer for CENDEP. He has developed, sourced funding for, and managed several projects both for CENDEP in the fields of natural resource management and sustainable agriculture. So Eric is doing a brilliant work in Cameroon, where he is trying to harvest water through watershed management and the planting of trees. I think I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Eric, we'll hand it over to you to take us through some of the work that you guys have been doing for many, many years. And over to you, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. Okay, fine. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me. I'm so happy that Water School Africa has given me the opportunity to share our story, our experience with women in the Northwest region of Cameroon, women who had problems with water in their community, and they decided to come together to bring back the forest because they know that without the forest, they will not have water. I would like to first of all show a short video to introduce my presentation.
Mbiame forest. In you our departed fathers peacefully rest. In you deep underground like the magma of Mount Cameroon lies water without which we could cease to exist. Sheltered by the trees that give us medicine, food, fuel wood, trees that in their diversity offer shelter and food to the birds that sing to us. All sorts of animals. From beneath you give us, unstopping from time immemorial, the water we drink. In our grief, we fell the trees that sheltered you, exposing earth to scorching sun, pushing you deeper and deeper away from us. Now we cry for water to drink. The Mbiame woman say no to this grid. This must stop. You must heal you. We must bring back our forest without which there is no water for us. We must bring back our forest. Mbiame.
Yeah, that is the plight of the women. The forest disappeared and their water disappeared, and they said they must bring back their forest. In my presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about my organization. I'll give the context in which these women are working. I'll present the problem they had, the solution that they adopted, the approach in addressing their problems, the method they use. Then we will look at the conclusion. This work, we have not been doing it alone. We have been doing it with the support of some of our partners that we would like to appreciate in our story. After that, we are going to have a session. We are going to discuss. Maybe if there are questions, there are issues for me to clarify. I'm going to do that. CENDEP is actually a community-based organization. It was created in 1999 and legalized in 2000. At the beginning, our activities were on teaching farmers how to grow vegetables that they harvest from the forest, vegetables that were disappearing, but that had high economic value. So we acquired skills on how to domesticate them, how to grow those vegetables. And then we started teaching farmers in our community how to grow those vegetables. As time went on, we recruited some professionals that helped us to do other things, like the things that we are doing today. They helped us in fundraising and in carrying out other activities like promoting sustainable agriculture and then the restoration of degraded forest areas, which is our principal work. We are located in Limbe. Limbe is a town in the southwest region of Cameroon. The work that we do, all the activities that we carry out are aimed at enabling local people to have the capacity to play a central role in creating and maintaining resilient ecosystems, as well as fostering policies that promote their rights to water, food security, and a clean, healthy, and safe environment. Mbiame, our target area, one of the communities where we focus our activities in the Northwest region, have a watershed. They are the watershed that measures 1,050 hectares. The boundaries of this watershed are well known. and I would say respected by the community. But unfortunately, out of this 1,050 hectares of community forest, 750 hectares are already highly degraded. Only the intact forest that we can see is only about 300 hectares. If we look at the law in Cameroon, within the context of the Cameroon forestry law, the Mbiame watershed or forest area is classified as a non-permanent forest. This means that it can be converted to other uses. The community or the government can decide to convert it into agriculture or for settlements. But luckily, the rights of the people living around this forest to use and derive income or benefit from this forest is recognized and respected by the government. So taking advantage of this, the forestry law, the people of Mbiame have decided that they are going to protect this forest to ensure that they have water for their community. So the management of the forest now is assured by elected community members who constitute the forest management committee. In Mbiame, this forest, Mbiame is not very rich in surface water. However, underground water is abundant with about 15 small streams and springs taking their rise from the watershed. Of the 15, only 6 of them flow all year round. A problem that led to water scarcity. Women agriculture in Mbiame is traditional, leading to low crop yields and declining soil fertility. With the clearance of the forest, the land is exposed to wind and soil erosion. Tree cover declined by more than 50% since the 1960s due to forest conversion to farmland, wildfires, collection of firewood, and construction material. This affected water quality and availability. Water-bearing rocks and aquifers are no longer being adequately recharged because the rate of runoff is higher than that of infiltration due to loss of forest cover. During the dry season, therefore, the water tables drop and water becomes very, very scarce. We're saying that the problem of water scarcity started in the first half of the 20th century, when German missionaries introduced the eucalyptus tree to serve as a source of firewood and timber in the community. Adoption of this tree was very high. Individuals and local councils, as well as individuals and local councils, established large plantations of the tree in degraded areas, watersheds, and potential farm land areas to replace the lost forest. In fact, some of the eucalyptus was even planted inside the community forest, inside part of this 750 hectares of the forest land that is degraded. Not long, it was discovered that the tree was affecting water cycles, resulting in the drying up of many streams in the community. This was worsened by the poor farming practices within the community, where farmers use fire as a means or a way to clear their soil from debris. Due to degradation, the remaining forest patches they now have limited capacity to play their role as water reservoirs. The problem that the community agreed was to bring back their forests, because they knew forests act as stream regulators. That is the increased seepage of water in the community. About 60 to 80% of the main annual rainfall is received during a very short period of about 3 to 4 months. Reforestation increases seepage and underground water. So the immediate action, one of the immediate action was to stop planting eucalyptus because it was one of the major causes of water problems. To remove existing eucalyptus plantation trees found in their community forest, and to conserve the 300 hectares of forest that were still left intact. In the long term, their long-term plan was to restore the 750 hectares that were degraded, and also to protect the 300 hectares that were still left intact, with the understanding that once the forest comes back, their water problems will be solved. Before these women started, reforestation activities actually started in 2008 under the management of the forest management committees. The members of this forest management committee were volunteers. They received no remuneration for their services. Tree seedlings for reforestation were produced in community nurseries, and the management of these nurseries was very difficult. So the approach at that time was to assign to share nursery tasks to members who were expected to work in turns during specific days of the week. People did not always come up to do the tasks that were assigned to them. Sometimes intervening NGOs would recruit a temporary nursery attendant who would work for as long as their project lasted. And projects in the past were always of very short duration, meaning that the community was unable to continue doing their reforestation activities on a continuous basis. So when the women took over the reforestation activities, it was about in 2016. 15 women from the village came together in a workshop to discuss and propose solutions to environmental problems that were affecting them in their community. That was in a workshop that CENDEP facilitated for them. One of the major problems that the women identified was water scarcity during the dry season. So these 15 women now, they started sensitizing other women in their community on what they could do to solve their water crisis problem. As of today, we have about 800 women from the community who have joined the 15 women who initiated the activity. They are at the forefront of reforestation. Today, we don't have community nurseries. Each woman has a private nursery at home where they produce maybe 5 to 50 or 1,000 seedlings at a time. So everybody, all the women, to be a part of the 800, the group of 800 women, the condition is that you must have a private nursery at your home. It doesn't matter the number of tree seedlings that you can produce. When they produce these tree seedlings, they plant them now. They now take them to the degraded areas in their forest or in their farmlands as well. They also plant these trees in areas that have been identified within the community, where there are springs, where they are in small water sources, like the area that is earmarked here. This area is not in the middle of the the community forest, but it harbors a stream that is very important for the community, and they have mapped it out for reforestation. Reforestation in this area is undertaken by the village community that surrounds that water source. The women enter into agreements with their leader. The agreements can be verbal or written, that they will grow their food crops in association with the trees that they are planting in the reforested areas. They also agree to follow some rules. For example, that they must not use fire in their agriculture, they will not use chemicals. And that the trees that they are planting in these communal areas do not belong to them, but to the community. The only benefit that the community will get from that everybody gets from the reforested area is the water that will be coming from there. Because wildfires are very common in the area, every year the women have to come out and do fire tracing to protect the trees that they have planted from bushfires. They also come out to monitor the trees that they have planted and to do replanting. Like in the picture we are seeing, there's a donkey that is transporting tree seedlings to areas where many trees died and they want to replace them. The leaders of the women that are in the 25 villages that are participating in this reforestation activities, they mobilize their women for community work, which could be tree planting, doing fire tracing, arranging venues for meetings and workshops. And they also they ensure that the trees that are planted are not destroyed. They also partition land to the farmers for the cultivation and planting of trees that they produce. It is important to note that when these women organize themselves, the community leader, who is the fund, allocated them land for their restoration activities. They were authorized to operate in the community forest area. And they also allocated land in other areas for their agricultural activities. Since 2016, reforestation activities started in 2008, as I mentioned, but the women came in 2016. And since 2016, they have already restored about 30 hectares of degraded forest area. The approach that they are using, the method, they use the analog forestry methodology. An analog forest is, in simple terms, is a forest that looks like the forest that existed in an area. So the farmers, they want to replicate, they are trying to replicate the intact forest that is in their area. So they use the approach of analog forestry to bring back their forest. The farmers, they collect seeds, predetermined seeds from nearby forests. These seeds include forest vegetables like Telferia fruit trees, medicinal plants, flowering plants for honeybees, commodities like coffee, cocoa, and tree species selection depends on the needs of the farmers and most especially the environment, because their key problem is water. Their main problem is water. They want a forest because of water. But now with analog forestry, they can get other products out of the forest. I want us to look at the work that we have done in one of the communities. There are many different villages within the Mbiame community forest area. I've taken an example of the community of Kitiwum. We can see the site for the analog forestry that we started, the analog forestry site, the watershed area, where they found their water source was in an area that measured about 18.5 hectares. This is the situation of the water catchment area in 2008. Now I'll show a very short video, about 12 seconds, to show you how this site has evolved with time. Okay. This video was taken yesterday, 3rd of June. So this site, the site that we are seeing here, has been transformed into this forest that we are seeing here. Now, in 2018, this community was experiencing severe water shortages every dry season. Since the establishment of their analog forests that we have seen above, we have converted a surface area of 18.5 hectares from grassland into a tropical mountain forest. The site is actually about 4 kilometers from the residential area and is going to remain a forest forever. The importance of the analog forest that we have created, the trees, we see that trees in the analog forestry, they improve the soil's ability to absorb and retain water. And they do this by creating deep root channels that allow water to penetrate soil more effectively. They also build soil structure through root networks and bind soil particles together. Adding organic matter from the leaves and roots that act like a sponge to hold water, protecting the soil from rain and reducing the impact of rainfall. With the forest that we have seen above it, the infiltration rate is now very high. The amount of the rate of rain or runoff of water has slowed down, so their water table has actually risen. We also see that trees can regulate soil moisture by intercepting rainfall with their canopies, allowing gradual infiltration, creating a shade that reduces soil temperature and evaporation. Adding leaf litter that forms a protective layer to retain moisture, drawing water up from deep layers of the soil, deep layers through their roots. Now, the benefits, who is making the benefits of this forest? Today, the community has water all year round, and they are even supplying the excess water from their community forest to nearby communities. The population served by this small forest that we have seen, that the population served by this 18.5 hectare forest is about 12,000. And it includes a health center, 4 primary schools, 2 nursery schools, and 3 secondary schools. All the churches in the community have water connected to them. And we have 32 functional standpipes. Now, most of the community members have taken water directly into their houses. They no more depend on the standpipes because the water is sufficient and everybody can have access to it. I will show a short video, maybe 12 seconds, that demonstrate what I'm saying. Water is now available all year round. This video was taken yesterday afternoon, to show a standpipe and a child carrying water from it. So this is the water. This is a product. This is a product from the forest. So since 2008 till date, the farmers in the women in Kitiwum have achieved their objective. They have water, clean water, abundant water. They have surplus water, and they can supply to nearby communities. Or just because they planted trees on their water source. Before they started planting those trees, there were seasons during which when there was severe drought and wildfires, the community would go for the entire dry season without water. But now the community has different problems. Their problems are no more water related. Though there is the problem we can mention is not the absence of the water, but the distribution now. The pipelines cover just about 65% of the quarters in this community. So there are still areas where the water needs to be connected to. We are seeing that for a child in areas where there is no standpipe, where water has not been connected, it takes a lot of time trekking to areas where the standpipes are located. Even though the community has sufficient water, there are still more water sources in the community that they would like to protect, but their problem is the resources to protect them. Because the population of the community that is reported at 12,000 might double to 24,000, 50,000 in the years ahead. At our level, with CENDEP, we are working in collaboration with the community, and we are looking at options where the community can have funding to continue their restoration activities. We are looking at opportunities like the Open Forest Protocol. We are talking with them and trying to see how some of the forests that we are creating can comply to their conditions, where these communities can be able to sell carbon, and get the benefits to do their restoration work. So we still have water sources that are not yet protected, like the one that we are seeing in this video. This is a place that needs to be reforested, that needs to be converted into a forest to make sure that the water there doesn't dry, that the water instead increases. It's already been mapped out by the community, and it is not everybody knows that is their watershed, and it will be reforested for their water supply. This one is a little bit far from the settlement area. As I mentioned, the work that we are doing, we've not been doing it on our own. Our partner, Both Ends, has been a key player. We've had long working relationship with them. We've worked with them for quite a very long time. They always link us to sources of funding. And then they also build our capacity. They link us to different types of organizations that are doing similar work that we are doing. They link us to organizations that can support our work. And they also fund some of our activities. So without Both Ends, we wouldn't have been able to achieve what we have achieved. The mobilization of women has actually been done through the GAGA project, of which Both Ends is a member. So it is through GAGA in 2016 that we were able to mobilize the women to take over the restoration of their degraded forest area in order to bring back water to their community. The WWF Russell grant for E-Trend grant, something the Worldwide Fund for Nature, they have been financing the tree planting activities in this community. When we mention the 30 hectares of forest land that has been restored, it is actually through the grants that we obtained from WWF. Then our partner, the International Analog Forestry Network, we work in collaboration. They provide all the technical advice, all the guidance, all the didactic, the training materials. They support us with production of training materials that we use, and they are helping us in publicizing, helping in the development of our website so that we can be able to show the work that we are doing to the international community. I think that will be the story of the women of Mbiame who started their work in 2016. 15 women who came together to talk about water problems in their community, and they have been able to mobilize 800 women. All these 800 women have tree nurseries either in their farms or at home. The tree nurseries are not gigantic nurseries. You might find 10 tree seedlings in the backyard of a farmer, or you might find 50. The way we support them is that when we get funding, like from WWF, we pay them for, we compensate them for the tree seedlings that they produce, and then they plant them in the forest. They don't get any compensation for planting them, but we at least try to compensate them for their time, for the poly bags that they buy, fill the poly bags, carry them to the field. Then they plant. When they plant in the field now, they also plant their crops. They can harvest their crop. And then when the water comes, everybody is happy. When you send your child to go and carry water, he doesn't go and stay for 1 hour. He goes for 10 minutes and he's back, and he can do other things. I think that will be the end of my story. Thank you all for your kind attention.
Wonderful, Eric. Thank you for sharing such an inspiring story with us. That it starts with 15 women. And also, small is beautiful. It doesn't matter that you have thousands of trees as a nursery. Each person has a certain small number of trees, and how that multiplies. You've shown us how that's possible and how they've done it in their area. Marvelous, marvelous story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, rather than me talking, the floor is open. If you have any question, people, please do ask questions. Eric is here. I'm sure there is a lot more detail and nuances in this story that we can definitely like to know more about or learn from. So please, either you raise your hand and unmute yourself, and we can, and ask the question, or put it in the chat, and we can, ask the question of Eric from there. Do go ahead.
All right, maybe one small clarification, not really a clarification. I would really like to introduce my colleague Perry. He's he's our nature conservation officer. He just joined the group, and I would like Perry to say hi to everybody.
Please.
Perry is the person who is behind all the achievements that CENDEP has had in our reforestation work. He is the teacher. He's the one who is moving around and teaching them. Perry, please, can you say hi?
Welcome, Perry.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. I joined when Eric had already started. I'm very happy to be part of this group and the exercise. Eric sent us the link that we will make a presentation this morning. So I decided to
Your voice is not very clear, Perry.
Also, are you getting me?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
All right, all right. So I just want to congratulate Eric, you for your presentation, and also to compliment all the other participants for having taken the time to listen to him. Yes, we started this work in 2008 when we were introducing with the IUC in Netherlands, so when we were introducing the concept of analog forestry, a pilot concept in Cameroon. So the women have been doing a marvelous job. I'm sure Eric has already told you we worked with forest management committees, which were mostly men, but the results were not really coming out because the the approach, what men, the needs of men are different from the needs of women. Women work more on the land, they deal more with water issues than men. So bringing women on to engage in land use, sustainable land use, and caring for the land was a very, very good decision that we took, and I think it is yielding a lot of fruit now in the community of CENDEP. So there's a lot of work we're still doing with them, advocacy and how they can develop their group and be able to speak out to local policy makers so that their situation and their livelihoods can be better uplifted. So it's a lot of work that we're doing on the ground, and I think those small steps that women have taken is already a great improvement in their livelihoods, and we hope to continue working with them despite the socio-political crisis we are facing. But we think they are doing a marvelous job out there in the field to uplift their livelihood situation. So thank you so much for participating, and I think I will be able to come back later if there are any pertinent questions. Thank you.
Marvelous. Perry, thank you so much. In fact, your women, the Women's Project reminds me that we are working with a fantastic women's project in India where they are reviving their water sources, and they have exactly the same, they've dealt with exactly the same challenges and are dealing with exactly the same kind of challenges with one water body at a time. And then I was really interested to hear Eric when he said that the problems have changed. Now they need actually pipes to bring the water back into the water into the house. So maybe we'll have a conversation about that later. But I cannot agree more. It's the women who carry the water on their heads and the girl children who help them who are taken out of school first. So they need to be part of the decision to bring the water back. And you've already shown how that's been done and how those decisions, what an impact it has on the families and everybody in the area. Now, there are lots of hands that are coming up. The first, I saw a big thumbs up from Paul Quinn, our colleague from Newcastle University in the UK. Thank you for that, Paul. And I have a hand, the first hand that came up was Peter from Groundswell. Please go ahead, Peter. Unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for a wonderful presentation, very inspiring, and lots of lessons that we can learn about the mobilization, the collective effort. It's not individual farmers, but needs to be collective. And so thank you for the presentation. I have 2 or 3 questions. They're short ones. The first is, I'm just wondering, what is the selection of the land that is being reforested? Because it seems to me from the videos and the pictures that you are using hills that are not normally farmed to protect those, or is it on flat land as well? So that's the first question. The second is that you talk about forest, but you mentioned once or twice something about planting trees on farmland as well. And I'm just wondering if you could distinguish between what work you are doing for afforestation or reforestation of community land, and what are you doing that is more agroforestry. Are the two linked together, or you are really focusing on the reforestation on more hilly, non-farmed or collective parcels? So those are my questions. Thank you.
Eric.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you for your question. Yeah, the reforestation, the main area for reforestation is the communal land, the community forest that I mentioned, that measured about 1,050 hectares. Planting on farmers' farm is agroforestry. Yeah, we also have a project for the regreening of the landscape in Mbiame. Yeah, the forest disappeared from where it existed and also from farmlands. And it is not very proper that our agricultural fields are completely bare. So we are promoting agroforestry on fields where farmers are growing their crops, but complete reforestation in the watershed areas, in the communal forest areas, most of which are on hilly areas, yeah, where erosion is really a big problem. Actually, the topography in Mbiame is hilly. It's a hilly area. It's not a level. It's not level terrain.
Okay, that's a very good answer. I just have a quick follow-up. The water saving or the water replenishment of the waters back to the land to bring water to the communities and all of that, is that coming from the reforestation part of your work, or does the agroforestry also help with that? That's my follow-up question.
Yeah, I'll look globally. The function of the tree, wherever planted, whether on farmland or in the forest, is to help water to penetrate, infiltrate properly. So the water that is coming, the water that I showed in the community is actually coming out from the restored, the man-made, not really restored, the man-made forest. The forest that I've shown in the video in Kitiwum is actually man-made. The area was formerly grassland. But we also know that if farmers do agroforestry, they will also help in reducing the rate of runoff. They will also have fruits for themselves. We are not only looking at water in the forest, but in your own farm. A farmer can harvest an avocado for the family, can harvest a mango tree. So we encourage them to put a few trees in their farms, not to allow their farms to be completely bare. In the dry season, when people go to walk in the fields and the sun is very high, they can only shelter themselves under the trees that they have planted. So the trees, they have their functions everywhere. But most of the trees are planted in the water sources, so as to protect them from sun and evaporation, and then allow the water table to rise so that we can have abundant clean water for the communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. There was one question about the selection of land. Peter, does that, do you want still Eric to say something about that?
I think he was my understanding, maybe he can correct me, is that they look where the most erosion is, and it's the community land that's on hillsides that are not normally farmed. Right. And that is what they put most of their effort, and that has the most impact on the, providing the water. The agroforestry is also beneficial locally, but that's not the major impact of the water. I hope I got that right. If not, they can correct me.
We have an area that has been earmarked for the community forest, and I mentioned that in my presentation. I think there are about 15 streams in this forest. That is a key area that they are protecting. Yeah, that is the forest. Out of that forest, if you moved into all different localities, you will also find small valleys, with small patches of degraded forest where there are water sources. So the communities around that area, they also plant trees around those areas. They don't just plant trees anywhere. They are planting where they have found water. They want to increase tree cover where there is water. They are not just planting in all the other degraded areas. They are used for cattle grazing. But wherever there is water, the trees must come to increase the surface area, to protect it properly, to ensure that there's infiltration of water and that the water table rises and they can always have water.
Thank you, Eric.
If there's no water anywhere, we are not creating forests without a need for. The women, as I said, they sat down and their problem was water and they want to have water. So wherever they find water, if there's a eucalyptus tree standing near a water source, they will fell it. They fell the eucalyptus tree and replace it with a native species that is water friendly. They make sure that the area where there's a water source, they increase the surface area of the forest around there. Perry, I don't know, maybe you have some additions.
Yeah, there are lots of questions coming in on the chat as well, but that's really good. Peter, does that answer your question?
I'm responding to some of the questions in the chat.
Right, okay.
I hope they are
just a minute.
they are satisfied with that.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
a minute.
I'm happy. I'm happy. Thank you.
Okay, Prosper's hand has been up. Prosper, we aren't forgetting you. I'll let Perry respond to some of the questions in the chat, and then we'll come to you in a minute. Perry, could you read the question out that you are responding to before you go ahead and respond? Please, go ahead.
Yeah, someone asked whether we have contacts in South Africa that can assist them since they are struggling with some of these issues in their villages. So I responded, we are working in the Midlands of Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. We have some groups there, the Montrose. I'm sure Montrose, Daniel, is also in this chat, in this Zoom conversation. I think they should have the same ecosystem and the same climate with South Africa. We're not yet working in South Africa, but I think we can explore opportunities in that area.
If you want, I can add over here, anybody who wants to contact anybody, please put your name and email down over here and say, ask whoever wants to be in touch. So you're very welcome and free to do that. Daniel, did you want to say anything in response to that?
Yeah, for those in South Africa, I put my contact on the chat, and I would like to thank these guys. They've provided many skills of how to plant trees. That's why when we were having our meetings or when we were having our field visits, I always tell you about the importance of growing trees. That's where I get the concept from. Thank you.
Marvelous. Okay, there's another question in the chat. What are you implementing in relation to livestock management practices? What is the average annual rainfall in your location? And how are you observing farmer to farmer scaling up in neighboring villages and other districts further afield? Eric?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I think in Mbiame, in the area, in the project area, we receive about 1,500 to 1,800 millimeters of rainfall annually. You know, it's the altitude in that area is about 1,200 to 1,000 to 3,000, between 1,200 to 3,000 meters above sea level. So it's quite a montane forest area. So livestock is predominant in the area, livestock breeding, especially free range. So what we usually do is we engage the livestock breeders. We bring them into the program because we cannot exclude them. It's a very important activity in the village, so we try to engage with them to understand the importance of tree planting so that they can guide during the transhumance period, they can guide their cattle to areas where trees have not been planted to avoid destruction. Alternatively, we also protect some of these trees, even though it's very costly to protect trees from livestock grazing. But usually what we do is we try to build some fences in areas where we can, depending on the funds that we have. But usually what we usually do is we try to bring them in to make them inclusive in the project so that they themselves can guide their livestock during their breeding grazing periods to avoid areas where trees have been planted, and also to avoid the conflicts that usually occur in those villages between the farmers and the livestock grazers. So these are some of the things that we try to do to bring them into the program and ensure that they can get some buy-in into what we are doing, so that they can also assist while they are doing their grazing.
So I think the same
Farmer scale up. Yes, we during our pilot in 2008, we engaged a lot of communities. We engaged about 50,000 people belonging to 7 different village communities. So there's a lot of knowledge about the analog forestry process in some of the villages in the area, not just in Mbiame, but in other villages around Mbiame. And recently, with the support that the International Analog Forestry Network is giving us through our seed grants, we've been able to bring in our other local partners who are in other villages to practice analog forestry through these seed grants. We give them these seed grants as support so that they can also expand areas under analog forestry and also engage more farmers, not just in Mbiame, but in other village communities around. So it's an ongoing process. It started last year, and we'll also be giving out grants to participants, to some of our local partners this year, 2025 as well.
Thank you. Okay, before we take further questions from the chat, Prosper, would you like to ask your question?
So,
You've been very patient.
so hello everyone. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can get you.
Go
Hello.
ahead.
Greetings from Rwanda. So I'm happy to hear from the presentation from Cameroon. So just to let you know that I learned a lot how you involve community leaders in your good practices to restore the environment. So I want to know, my question is about learning about beyond your practices, beyond your own contribution. What is the government actions or government support toward your good initiative? Thank you.
Perry, will you like to chip in something?
Thank you.
Let
Thank
me
you for
say
that
something.
question.
Maybe, pardon?
Yeah, thank you. Let me try to respond.
All right.
Actually, what government does is very what government does is very regulatory, in the sense that they have extension services in these communities that assist with the given budgets at their disposal to help the communities to do reforestation work. And so you will notice that the Ministry of, in Cameroon, we have a Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife that has a chief of post in that locality that usually, with the budget at its disposal, can assist the communities in providing seedlings in one of the programs, or also protecting the forest. But it is really very minimal, because the budget allocations are very small in some of these government agencies. And so that is why we rely more on funding agencies from abroad. What government usually do in the field is just simple extension services, assisting farmers, advising farmers on how they can grow their crops, and also access different kinds of pesticides from that are homologated by the government from the market. But apart from that, there is no serious government intervention in what the women are doing, especially because most of the work is being done by aid agencies and also organizations like us.
Thank you, Perry. Eric, would you like to add something? You were about to
No, I
say.
would just say maybe the government supports us by allowing us to operate. If they refuse us if they don't allow us to operate, it means we cannot support the community the way they are doing. The government resources are always limited. The problems are everywhere, and what we are doing is trying to support the government to make sure the communities are living, the people have clean water for themselves and so on. Yeah, we are doing our own bit to support the government achieving their objectives.
So there is some communication with the government. It's not totally broken down. Okay. So now there's another question in the chat from Paul, which says he's asking, Paul, would you like to ask your question? Unmute yourself.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, a comment that the work is fantastic. The role of trees is fantastic. And I'm glad you've got rid of eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is the most dangerous plant in the world, apart from Australia. Okay. So, but with 1,500 millimeters of rain, you are still in danger of small changes in rainfall and rainfall patterns. So for instance, you could get low intensity rainfall rather than high intensity rainfall. So I was just wondering, have you had any drought years or maybe 2 dry years next to each other?
No, actually no. But what happens is that there are times that we are expecting the rains, but we have the sun. Like sometimes farmers will plant their crops, and in the month of, say, May, when we expect rainfall to be regular, we might go for 2-3 weeks without rainfall. But we've not had drought for a year or two consecutively. We don't really experience drought that way, but there are always periods when maybe farmers will have to plant twice because they planted their crops and along the way, suddenly the rain stopped falling and they have to replant again. Yeah. And then at times also you find the rain falling when it is not supposed to be falling. We expect the rain to
rainfall when rainfall wants to, and will always surprise you. So I think the more forest you have and the more sustainable land units you've got will make you more robust to drought, and will also bring rainfall into the landscape using the tree bridge, as we call it. But you also mentioned population growth. People will always start to consume more water as their standards rise. So I think you need to just think more broadly about not sharing everything immediately, because surplus can be used up very quickly. You need to keep something back for the ecosystem, I think. So don't give everything away too quickly. You need some capacity, spare capacity in your system.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks. Thank you, Eric. There's a question related to rainfall. Have you seen any change in the rainfall pattern ever since the forest has come back? I mean, is the rainy season quite consistent in the same number of months, or has it increased, or has it 1 year, as Paul was saying, 1 year dry, 1 year you don't have that, but in the consistency of the rainy season, has something changed?
Yeah, I have one community member who is attending this this meeting. I would like him to answer. Mr. Kitifo, can you say something about rainfall? Hey, are you there? I wanted somebody from the community to talk about the rainfall. Kitifo.
If you're there, unmute yourself. Well, we can wait for him and come back to this question later and take another one in the meantime. So there's a question here that says, are you planning to revive traditional livestock management with herding rather than fencing? And then Dalend, you can, after this, maybe you ask your question. Yes.
Whether we are planning to revive
traditional livestock management with herding rather than fencing. Do you have that as a tradition in your area?
No, our focus, our expertise is on reforestation, planting the trees, involving cattle rearers. We have other ways that we try to make them belong to the system. Like we have a small revolving fund for women, and the Bororo people who are the cattle rearers, they are women, they are involved in this scheme. So we also involve them in the tree planting, also nursing trees, raising trees that we used to plant in the forest. We want everybody to understand, to know the importance of the forest. Our expertise is on reforestation. But we also know that there are challenges. If you plant the trees and the cattle destroy them, you will not be making any progress. So we make sure that the people who keep the cattle, they also participate in planting. And you will not plant a tree and go to destroy it yourself. Because they used to take their cattle to graze in the forest. But now they understand that because water is for everybody. When water is abundant, the cattle also have their water. The water is not only for the humans, it's for everybody. The cattle, the goat, the sheep that the community people are keeping, there is provision for them to water their cattle as well. So it is their project. It is all for all of us. We are not doing separate thing. We focus tree for water.
Just for all. Thank you. Dalend, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Minnie. Thank you, Eric. Eric, you are doing fantastic work there in Cameroon. You are doing a lot of work, and it's amazing how 15 women can influence a big number up to 800 women. It's fantastic. That's very good. But well, I'm coming in from an administrative point of view. All those who are new onto this movement, onto this chat, who would also want to be part of this movement, please put in your addresses, your phone numbers, and your WhatsApp addresses into the chat box. I'll be taking care of those. Thank you. Back to you, Minnie.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll add you to the group, just to add on to what Dylan said. We'll add you to the group. So, and we have the Water School Africa online sessions on the first Tuesday of every month. This session we made an exception for Eric because he was not available yesterday and we really wanted to hear from him. So we are holding this on a Wednesday today. But otherwise, the first Tuesday of every month, and we'll add you to the group and you'll hear about the future sessions that might come up. And we're also open to anybody who might want to talk about some of successful water holding work that you're doing in your country. If you've been inspired by this or you're really doing phenomenal work and would like to share it with others, reach out to us, and and we will certainly be very happy to have a conversation. But that was administrative. Let's get back to the questions that we're asking Eric. Right, so anybody else has any other questions that you would like to ask Eric and Perry? And has Mr. Kitty come in?
Hi, sorry, I didn't put my hand up. Can I ask another question?
Yes, go ahead, Astrid. I've seen all your questions and very interesting. Do go ahead.
Morning, all. Thank you. Absolutely amazing work. Really keep going. Don't give up and keep growing. So my question was, you started in 2008 mobilizing. How long before 2008 did the water stop being perennial, available all year? And since you started, how long did it take before you reached the current situation where water is now available all year? Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. Good question. Eric.
Yeah, I mentioned that water problems started when the eucalyptus arrived. So we have been living with the water problems. So the water problems have been we have been living with them. We got used to them, but at one stage, as the population was growing, people needed to start doing something. So we started by 2008. That is when we started intervening in the community. It doesn't mean that they have not been doing things. They started by doing fences. They will just fence the watershed area. But when we went there, we also started to say, no, we can plant trees and crops. And if the tree cover comes and if the tree cover improves, the water will improve. So from 2008 till now, as the forest was growing, maturing, the water was increasing also. I can't say precisely when. We've not been keeping records on, or maybe taking the volume of flow of water from the tank in year 1, year 2, from the site from year 1, year 2. Those are not things that we have been monitoring, but our key thing was bringing back the forest, and we have seen the forest cover the area, and we have seen that water is January to December. It is 7 days per week, 24 hours per day, no more rationing. That is at least what we can talk about. Yeah, to say that
I think, if I should add to what Eric has just said, I think the perception from the community now is different from what they had in 2008 when we came in. So I think that question is more scientific. If we could look at the scientific way of doing things, taking those measurements at the stream flows, the volume of stream flows, like Eric was saying, we could actually come up with specific data on that. But the mandate of our organization, we're just a community-based organization. We don't usually take those statistics, but we also listen to the perception from the communities that we can easily perceive. The communities, they have noticed a change in the way water flows, and it is becoming almost perennial now in some areas. But I won't say it is in all areas, because we're still a work in progress. There are still challenges that we are facing in the field. But if we could do a scientific study could give us actual information and timing of when these changes occurred after our intervention in 2008. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also understand that our interventions, most NGO interventions are always of short duration, 1 year, 2 years maximum. we have been able to achieve this type of result because we have been in the community for almost, we have been there all along. But you will find an NGO that will come into a community with a 1-year project, they are gone. 2-year project, they are gone. 6 months project, they are gone. But we are lucky that we had a partner who kept on linking us to where we could get funding to do our work, who kept on supporting us. And that is why we have been in this locality for quite a long time. It's difficult for an organization to say we did this and they monitor and get this, the results that we are getting.
Yeah.
Many people come and go. They come and go and they don't even know what is happening behind. Yeah.
Very well said, Eric. That is one of the key things we need to pay attention to, that, you know, projects for a year or 2 years don't achieve the kind of results that funders would like to see. That funders need to be long-term, with a long-term vision as well. The community has a long-term vision, and they're the ones who are there day in, year out. And so for results to happen, it has to be a long-term vision. This is something we stress again and again, that you work with the community with their long-term vision, and it's then the results will be phenomenal, and that's how we will regenerate the planet's water resources with a long-term vision.
Can I make a small comment on that, Minnie?
Sure. Yes, Paul, go ahead. And then we'll come to you, KDC.
Yes, sorry, KDC, but often scientists like myself turn up and we do some science and then we go away again. It's terrible. It's really bad. But there's 2 types of information. There's scientific information, which is very expensive and never really that representative of other locations. But there's very simple bits of information that you could measure yourselves. And there's 3 or 4 of them. One is put a rain gauge on the roof of a house, okay, and somebody measures it every day. You can put a small evaporation pan, which will just be a pan, and you can measure the water level every day. And then one of the projects we did in where was it? Ethiopia, where we got the measurement of the depth in the well, and we also put some more holes in the ground to just measure where the water was. And over time, we were able to see seasonality, you know, when the dry season was and how vulnerable they were. But they were very cheap, and you could probably make your own measurements and quantify if things are getting better or worse. So be encouraged that you can, some very simple information will help you work out what your water balance is. And that's the big concept here, is changes in the balance is what make you successful or your system fail. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Very good point about doing what we can ourselves. And there is also something from a person in the chat saying that it's anecdotal stories from elders in the village. And I really can't stress enough that if we chase big science, then the community focus tends to become a little lesser, whereas the most important are the community, as you yourself have shown again and again, that they have the passion and they take it forward, and it's their stories. And, you know, as Paul says, if you can do small measurements, that is really the most important science one can talk about, especially at that kind of level. So small things that we can do ourselves, and then of course, as there are access to satellite data and other such kind of scientific data that one can tap for one's area if there are projects so minded. But our focus, as yours, is always the community and their stories and their experience and their perception of how things are changing with their hard work. Thank you for that. KDC, please go ahead. Unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Janet. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Yes, my name is Janet, and I work for KDC, that is Kitui Development Center, in the lower eastern part of Kenya. And when this Wirsiy from Cameroon was giving the what they are doing in Cameroon, I thought they're talking about Kitui because it's almost the same area, the same issues that they are addressing. And I want to compliment them on what they are doing, and especially the sustainability part of it, where you're involving the local women and mobilizing people to take part in the action that we are doing. I think if we want to be more sustainable, let us continue bringing more women on board, and that can be more sustainable. Actually, I was so happy. We're also doing the tree planting, and we are doing it with a lot of women. And the women, when the women embrace it, it is not only for rain, but also as food, because they have the fruits and all those things. And it's also good for the ecosystem. Thank you very much. I wanted to compliment that.
Wonderful comment, Janet. I absolutely appreciate what you say, because this is what we feel across the planet. The more women come into the leadership roles and for their communities and are part of the decision making, they're the ones who carry the water, they're the ones who feed the village, they're the ones who help their male counterparts grow the food and stretch it to feed the whole village. So the more women that can be involved in the leadership of the decision making, the quicker we'll achieve the change that we want to see. So thank you very, very much for bringing that in, and I would urge everybody to keep that in mind as you plan your various projects or work for your communities, that to definitely keep a handle on that and mind on that. Any other thoughts or comments that anybody in the audience would like to make, ask?
Yes, Minnie, I would actually want to ask Eric. I have realized that what you guys are doing is you're taking some land that is belonging to people. If I want to put it in that raw sense, how do you then compensate and reduce conflicts in the process of trying to avail water? I have also realized that yes, people are cutting down the eucalyptus tree. Are you then apportioning some of the trees that you're planting for people to make firewood? How are you compensating that?
Good.
Yeah, you asked a very important question. Eucalyptus that we are taking out of the forest is an economic tree. It has high value. They are using it to make utensils. They sell it to the electricity company. It gives them a lot of income. But also, if you have a lot of money without water, you also buy water very expensively. It took us a lot of time. It has been long. We've been working since 2008. A lot of sensitization, a lot of education. People know the importance of water. They know that they must not only plant the eucalyptus in watershed areas. There are other areas where they can do their eucalyptus plantations. And I think there is no big deal about it. I mentioned we are looking at the option of this open forest project that we are trying to see if there will be a possibility for us to make the community to sell carbon to these people and get income from them also. Water is their priority problem, and they are solving their water problems. They can plant eucalyptus in different areas in the community. It must not be in the forest that is giving them the water. It must not be planted just where in their water sources. That one is well established and well respected by all the community members.
And so there aren't really any major conflicts arising out of the land and the water sharing and things like that.
The community forest is community land.
So there isn't.
It's community land. It's not an individual's land. Yes, it's not an individual's land. The conflict will be with the users. Yeah, like in the past, farmers used to grow their crops inside the community forest. They have to take them out. People who came before, they took them out of out of the forest. So there was conflict. But when we came with the analog forestry approach, we send them back into the forest, and the forest has grown back. We send it back, grow your crops, maintain the trees. When the trees are big, get out of the forest. You can go back to the forest and put your beehive. You can get water from the forest. Yeah. It takes time. It's not something that an organization will come and do for 1 year and go and it will work. The challenges are there, and we keep on diagnosing the problems and proposing solutions as we move along.
So, Eric, who monitors that? I mean, with some of our colleagues in India who we've been working with for a long time, when they brought the trees back, when they brought the water back, and on community land, you know, they sat together as a community and they made the rules for using the water, how much each one could use, or how many trees could be cut at a given point and not more. How do you ensure that? How does that get ensured in your community forest?
Okay, let me talk about the water. When the water was not sufficient, when it was still scarce, we had the standpipe, the public pipes. Nobody took water into their house. That was the agreement. If you want water, you go and carry from the public side. But now the water was all, when the wet water became abundant, they say, no, if you have the means, you can put it in your house. And when you take it to your house, your neighbor will also still carry from your house. Actually, there is forest management committee and water management committees in those. There's mechanism to control and regulate all this. There are those who are managing the forest and those who are managing the water for the community.
And are these people from the community themselves?
Yeah, this is community. Is not from outside. It's a community. It is their property. You cannot get your water and somebody comes from out to manage it for you.
Yeah, no, it is really critical that if the community revives something, it is in their hands and they manage it. And it's always that the most successful way to go forward, that you don't want to go back to that same position again. And to do that, as a community, you make the decisions of how to keep it.
And then with the trees that are planted in the forest, in the community forest or in the watersheds, they are there forever. They are not trees that can be cut. They are not regulating who cuts what. They are establishing a permanent forest. You want fuel wood for your house, there's other land in the community where you can do it. Not in the community forest. Community forest is not for fuel wood or whatever exploitation. You can do non-extractive use of the forest. Yeah, if you put a beehive in the forest, you can go and take honey. You take honey, you don't take the tree. The trees in the forest must not be touched. Cannot fell them. You can only fell the ones, we call them the bad ones, the eucalyptus. That's the one that the community that we've been trying to eradicate. That one is, you can cut them and take them out, but it's not any individual. It is the community, the forest management committee that will cut the eucalyptus sow into timber, get the money and use to finance part of their activities.
Marvelous. Really, this is just such a central message that it is always community, and if it is in the hands of the community, they will revive it, they will look after it, and they will monitor it. So, and that small scale, you know, even like your nurseries, 10 trees in the backyard, and slowly the whole thing spreads and becomes woven into an abundant whole. So, any other thoughts and questions from anybody? We're coming close to the time where we are going to close the session very soon. So, any last questions? And before Dalind gives us...
I would like to try and ask my question a different way. So, from the time that you started in 2008, there was a problem with the water had dried up in the dry season. What year after you started implementing did you first notice that the water had started staying longer, and what year did it start being available all year round? Was it in 2022 or 2019? From 2008, there was a problem, but you've been on the ground. So sort of when did you notice now the water is back all year round? Was it, what year?
Yeah, just a rough thing, Eric. Roughly, when did you start noticing the change from having no water to when there was abundant water beginning? In how many years? Yeah.
When I look at, if I look at the rate of tree growth in the area, and then the time that we took to establish the forest, because when you plant the trees, they will take a couple of years before they will become what I shared in the video. I will give it 10, 15 years after.
So from 2018, you started
No, 2008. 2008.
2008, you started, and there was
Let's put 10 years. Let's put 10 years.
Yes,
5
so
to 10 years.
in 2008, you started, there was a problem, no water. In 2018, 10 years after starting, now you saw the water returning. 10 years.
The water returns. The water returns abundantly.
In 2018. Cool,
It's
10 years.
10
Thank you
years.
very much. Thank
Yeah,
you, thank you. That's great.
But it's something that I can still, as I say, we have not been monitoring this thing. We've really rather been monitoring our forests and then monitoring the changes in the distribution of the water. The changes in the distribution of water come with when people when the community members were allowed to take the water into their private homes. Those are questions that I can ask back in the community, and if I get information on when people were authorized to start taking water into their homes, because it was already becoming surplus. Yeah. Those are things that we left. They were not of our concern. Our concern was seeing the forest come.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, seeing the water, but we were not monitoring those changes. But there is a way to get the information from the Water Management Committee. When did you allow, when maybe asking them when they allowed community members to start taking water into their homes, and why did they do that, and so on. Yes.
A lot of measurement is in the memory of the community, from being water poor to water rich, and that's what's the ultimate measurement that matters. No? Eric, I interrupted you. Sorry, were you going to complete?
No, it's okay. I think I said all I wanted to say.
Right. So we're coming towards the end of this session, and I think Dalend has a few things that he would like to, administrative things he'd like to say. Dalend, would you like to say them before we close the session formally?
Thank you so much, Eric. This was a very informative presentation. If you were looking at our chat box, a lot of people are actually appreciating. And I'm thinking now, Eric, let this be the last question. How do you want to take this into Africa? How do you think you can assist us spread this gospel that you started in Cameroon and make sure our communities dotted around Africa can also benefit? How do you want to help us, Eric? Besides this presentation, of course.
Yeah, we already have ambassadors in Zimbabwe. Daniel is there. Good. I can see Jules from Togo. Jules is there. So it is true. When Jules start spreading it in communities in Togo, Daniel is spreading in Zimbabwe. We get other people in other countries, and we are meeting. Like we met today, we are discussing, sharing ideas, learning from each other, supporting people to start it in their own countries, in their own communities. Step by step, we are going to reforestate all the water catchments, all the watersheds within Africa, and all rural communities in Africa will say bye-bye to problems of water. It's a process that can take some time because it requires a lot of training, coaching, mentoring, and so on.
Wonderful. I think, Dalend, your answer is in the women who do at least 10 seedlings each. So if each one of us produced 10 trees and planted 10 trees, that's your answer that's the learning we get from Eric. So if whoever's appreciated this session, do put your email in. This presentation, the recording of this presentation, as well as Eric's presentation, the slides will go up on the waterschools.org website. I'm putting that in the chat, and you can access it anytime. Send it to whoever you think would like to see it. There are other presentations there of previous presenters, so it is there as a free resource for anybody who would like to go over all that's been discussed again, or hear from other people who've done similar kind of things in their communities in different countries in Africa. So please do join this movement of water harvesting, which we want to see happening globally and through Water School Africa online, especially across the continent of Africa. And I really thank you, Eric and Perry and Kitifo and others from your community and your supporting organizations for the work that you are doing in Cameroon and for sharing it with us today. Thank you very much, everybody. Remember, the next session will be on the first Tuesday of the month of July, and we will send you information about that in due course, who will be presenting then. Thank you for joining us today. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye all.